What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to the video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup. I'm going to go through all the full-time entries and the part-time entries for 2024. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to have a start to talk about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This, of course, be driven by Ross Chastain, who's signing a long-term contract extension with this team early in 2023. Ross Chastain had a very solid year in 2023, scoring 2 wins, but unfortunately got eliminated in the round of 12. Ross Chastain also have a new sponsor, actually a couple of new sponsors, as Wendy's and Busch Beer will be working with Trackhouse Racing in 2024. Ross Chastain looks to build on a really good year and be a championship threat in 2024. Up next, how about the 2 car for Team Penske? This one's going to be driven by Austin Cindric. Now, Austin Cindric had a really bad sophomore slump. He went from being in the playoffs in 2022 to missing it in 2023, and I believe only scoring 4 or 5 top 10s in all of 2023. Will look to have a better year in 2024 with Brian Wilson as a crew chief, who won a championship with Austin Cindric in the NASCAR Xfinity Series back in 2020. Hopefully, Austin Cindric can have a better year in 2024. Up next, how about the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing? This one's going to be driven by Austin Dillon. Now, Austin Dillon did not have a good year in 2023, probably having his worst career year up to this point. He scored double-digit DNS, unfortunately, throughout the season, and only had a couple top 10s. I think finished 29th or 30th in the standings. I believe Keith Rodden, once again, will be the crew chief for Austin Dillon in 2024, which gives me great concern because I believe that could lead Austin Dillon to not having a very good season. I'm worried Dillon may struggle in 2024. Up next, how about the 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? There'll be a new driver behind the wheel of the 4 car in 2024 as Kevin Harvick will be joining the Fox Sports booth. That new driver is going to be Josh Berry. Josh Berry coming over from Junior Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series will ride full-time with Ford in 2024 in the 4, and Ronnie Childers will be the crew chief. Eddie DeHaan is going to be the spotter. I think Josh Berry is a very, very solid driver, done really well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series the last couple of years. I think Josh Berry has a really solid opportunity here, and hopefully he can make the best of it and have a solid year and maybe be the best driver at Stewart-Haas Racing in 2024. Up next, how about the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson had a Jekyll and Hyde year in 2023, basically having 4 wins, but had a lot of DNS and was very inconsistent. Kyle Larson also this year will have the opportunity to run the double, running the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indy 500 in the same year with Arrow McLaren in the Indy 500. Kyle Larson looks to be a championship threat and contender in the 2024 season. He's capable enough to get it done, and we'll see if Kyle Larson can, in fact, win the championship and get a second title in the Cup in 2024. Up next, how about the 6 car for RFK Racing? This one's going to be driven by Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski had a really solid year in 2023, having his best year since 2021. While not winning a race, he got some top 5s, and I think he got double-digit top 10s as well in 2023, and also made it to the round of 12 and nearly got to the round of 8. I think Brad Keselowski is going to be an outside championship threat and contender in 2024 because Keselowski is overall a very, very good driver. He's really built RFK to be a solid organization, and Brad Keselowski looks to have a much better season in 2024. Up next, how about the 7 car for Spire Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie, in the middle of 2023, signed a multi-year contract extension with Spire Motorsports and will stay in the 7 car for at least the next couple of seasons. Corey LaJoie looks to have a much better year. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself where he wants to make the playoffs in 2024, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen with the competition. But he is a very solid driver, can get the best out of equipment, and maybe, just maybe, we will see Corey LaJoie have a good year in 2024. Up next, how about the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing? This one's going to be driven by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch's first year at RCR went very solidly, especially in the first half. In the first 15 points paying races, Kyle Busch was able to go on and win 3 races, but unfortunately in the second half of the year, he fell off a little bit. Now going into this year, Kyle Busch has some new sponsors, with Rebel Bourbon coming into play, and also Zone Lubricant, basic sponsor for majority of the season and being the anchor sponsor. I think that Kyle Busch will have a very solid year. He looks to have a much better season and try to win his 3rd championship in 2024. Up next, how about the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott did not have a great year in 2023, but it wasn't absolutely awful. He did, I think, get 10 or 11 top 10s or something along those lines and a couple top 5s, but unfortunately, Chase Elliott suffered an injury. There was some worry that Chase Elliott could miss the Clash, but he's expected to run the Clash as well. Chase Elliott thinks he's going to have a pretty resurging year in 2024. I think it'll be a pretty big bounce back season for the number 9 team. He'll have a new spotter in 2024, Trey Poole. Chase Elliott looks to have a bounce back year in the 2024 season. Up next, how about the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? There'll be a new driver behind the wheel of the number 10 car in 2024 as Eric Almirola will be back in the Xfinity Series and driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 20 seat. The new driver is going to be Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson gets a second chance and opportunity. Doesn't bring a lot of sponsorship to the organization. He only have, I believe, Rush Truck Centers as a sponsor for him in 2024. Hoping Noah Gragson can just stay out of the spotlight, not make a lot of mistakes, and have a good enough year and show that he can get some sponsorship here in the near future. He'll be in the 10 car, though, in 2024. Up next, how about the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This once again be driven by Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had a pretty good year in 2023, scoring 3 wins, but unfortunately failed to make it to the championship 4. Now, Denny Hamlin also signed a multi-year contract extension with the organization and team, so he'll be there at least for the next couple of years. Denny Hamlin looks to have a much better season in 2024, and finally, after many years of trying, he'll be hoping to finally win his first NASCAR Cup Series championship, which this could be the last opportunity he has of getting that done. Up next, how about the 12 car for Team Penske? This will once again be driven by Ryan Blaney, who's coming into this season as a defending champion. Ryan Blaney had a really good year last year, winning the championship, and looks to win his first Daytona 500 this year, and also looks to go back-to-back in the championships, which the last time anyone went back-to-back was when Jimmy Johnson won 5 in a row. It's very tough to do in this points format, but I think Ryan Blaney could have a pretty solid and great year with the Team Penske group in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. Up next, how about the 14 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This will once again be driven by Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe had a bad season in 2024, where I believe for the first time in his Cup career finished outside the top 30 in points, and basically at one point got a 120-point penalty. The hope for Chase Briscoe is to have a bounce-back season, which I think he does have a really good chance of at least having somewhat of a bounce-back year. I think there's some struggles coming away of the 14 team this season, but I do believe that Chase Briscoe could, and maybe could, have a bounce-back year in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. Up next, how about the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing? Now, Rick Ware Racing has confirmed some of the lineup for 2024. Kaz Grala is going to be in the number 15 car for 24 to 25 races, and it's been rumored that Cody Ware is going to run 10 NASCAR Cup Series races, according to the most recent IMSA coverage for the VIP Challenge. There's also rumblings that Ryan Newman could also make some select starts in the number 15 car as well in 2024. Nonetheless, it's expected that Kaz Grala and Cody Ware will share a majority of the races for the 2024 NASCAR season. Up next, how about the 16 car for Kaulig Racing? It has already been confirmed that AJ Allmendinger is going to run a select number of Cup Series races, including the Daytona 500. There have been a lot of chatter that Matt Benedetto could be headed to Kaulig Racing in 2024, but as of right now, Matt Benedetto does not have a seat going into the 2024 season. I do think that Josh Williams has a really good chance of getting some opportunities to drive the 16 car, and maybe even Ty Dillon could get some select starts behind the wheel of the 16 as well. Nonetheless, this will be a rotation seat in the 2024 season with multiple drivers behind the wheel of the number 16 car in 2024. Up next, how about the 17 car for RFK Racing? This will once again be driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher had a really good year in 2023, where he's able to make it to the round of 8 and got 3 wins, having a breakout season. A lot of people are putting Chris Buescher as a championship threat and contender. I don't want to jump that gun just yet. Well, yes, he had a really solid year in 2023. They were inconsistent on different types of tracks, which I think could hurt Chris Buescher in the long run. But I think Chris Buescher still could have a very, very solid season and looks to build on a really, really great year in 2024. Up next, how about the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. had a Jekyll and Hyde season in 2023. Started off not very good. Then during the middle portion of the season, performed very well, getting all three of his wins during that middle portion. And then the final 11 races, I believe, failed to score a single top 5 finish. I am a little worried about Martin Truex Jr. going into the season, and obviously the rumors of retirement, among other things, are probably going to come up throughout the 2024 season. But Martin Truex Jr. is a capable enough driver where I think he could be pretty competitive and could have a solid year. We'll see how he ends up doing throughout 2024. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will once again be driven by Christopher Bell. Chris Bell had a pretty solid year in 2023 where he's able to score 2 victories and make it to the Championship 4 for the second consecutive season. Chris Bell looks to have a really, really good year and get multiple victories once again in 2024 and continue to grow his really strong NASCAR Cup resume in the 2024 season. Up next, how about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers? This once again be driven by Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton had a bad year last year. He unfortunately had a worse year than he did in 2022 as a rookie and only scored 2 top 10 finishes and only had one really strong run, which was at the Spring Darlington race. The hope for Harrison Burton is he can get better. He will be working with Jerry Bowens, which I think could help him out throughout 2024, but I still think that Harrison Burton may not have a great year in 2024, and he's definitely got a lot of pressure to improve the season as he could lose his ride at the end of the upcoming season. Up next, how about the 22 car for Team Penske? This once again be driven by Joey Logano. Joey Logano had a bad year in 2023 for his standards, but we all know historically that Joey Logano is really great in the even years and not as good in the odd years. So I think that Joey Logano does have a really good opportunity and chance here to bounce back and improve. I think he's going to be a championship contender and get a couple wins in 2024 and make a run of it as he looks to try to win his 3rd championship in the NASCAR Cup Series this year and this season. Up next, how about the 23 car for 23XI Racing? This will once again be driven by Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace had a career year in 2023 where he finished in the top 10 in points for the first time, had the same amount of top 5s and top 10s as he did in 2022, but unfortunately did not win a race. I think the goal for Bubba Wallace is to have a much better season. I think he will be a contender to get multiple victories throughout 2024. He'll have a new sponsor with the Air Force coming into play to sponsor 23XI. I think Bubba Wallace has the capabilities to be a contender in 2024. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by William Byron. William Byron had an amazing year in 2023, was able to make it all the way to the Championship 4 and score 6 victories. I think William Byron, while I don't think he's going to win as many races in 2024 as he did in 2023, I still think he'll be a championship threat again, getting at least 4 victories this season, and I think he'll have a really great chance and a really strong possibility for sure of making it all the way to the Championship 4 and potentially getting his first ever NASCAR Cup Series championship, which would only be, I believe, at the age of 26 or 27, which would be extremely impressive. Up next, how about the 31 car for Kaulig Racing? There'll be a new driver behind the wheel of the 31 car in 2024, as Daniel Hemrick will be replacing Justin Haley in this seat. Daniel Hemrick had an all-right year in the Xfinity and has made some select Cup starts over the last couple of years, but this will be his first full-time season in Cup since driving for RCR in the A car in 2019. Hopefully Daniel Hemrick can have a solid season, but I'm a little worried he's going to struggle. I think he'll have a couple solid performances, but I think mostly throughout the year, I think that the Kaulig Cup program is going to struggle, especially I think Daniel Hemrick will as well. Up next, how about the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing? It's expected that this car is going to show up once again in 2024, and I expect that Brody Kosecki is going to make around 4 to 5 NASCAR Cup Series starts in this seat, and I also expect Austin Hill to make starts behind the wheel of this number 33 car in 2024. They only ran this car once in 2023. I believe that both Kosecki and Hill will be driving in this number 33 car in many races throughout 2024. Up next, how about the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Michael McDowell. The big thing though with Front Row is they're switching alliances and going to Team Penske this year. Michael McDowell had a really great year in 2023. Career stats, as a matter of fact, was able to get to the playoffs, got to the round of 16, and also won a race at the Indianapolis Road Course. Well, I don't know if Michael McDowell is going to be as strong in 2024 as he was in 2023. He's proven he's a capable driver, and I think McDowell could still have an overall solid year with this team in 2024. Up next, how about the 38 car for Front Row Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Todd Gillen. Todd Gillen had a really good start to 2023, but unfortunately near the end, it didn't go as well, only scoring one top 10 finish in the second half of the season, where all of his other top 10s happened in the first half. Todd Gillen is definitely a little bit on the hot seat for sure, because you got Lane Riggs is coming up through the ranks as well, and you also do have the potential possibility of them switching teams with the teams as well. So hopefully Todd Gillen can have a better season and show he still deserves to be behind the wheel of the 38 car in 2024. Up next, how about the 41 car for Stewart-Haas Racing? This one's going to be driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece had a roller coaster season. He didn't start the year off great, had some okay runs, probably should have won Martinsville, was really great on short tracks throughout the season, and did put up some solid performances throughout the year. And he did have a lot of top 20 finishes near the end of the season. He did have that scary flip in Daytona, but the hope is that he can have a much better season and be a lot more competitive. We'll see what he ends up doing this year. Hopefully he can have a great season with the team and show a lot of improvement with the organization to stay long-term with the team at Stewart-Haas Racing. Up next, how about the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club? There'll be a new driver behind the wheel of the number 42 car in 2024, as John Hunter Nemechek will replace Noah Gragson. John Hunter Nemechek will have a crew chief that he's using Xfinity, that being Ben Bayshore, as Legacy Motor Club, of course, also switches to Toyota in 2024. Hopefully, John Hunter Nemechek can have a very good and solid year with this Legacy Motor Club organization, put up some really, really strong, great performances, and we'll see what he can do as he'll get his first full-time season in the Cup Series in a very, very long time. Up next, how about the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club? There'll be no changes to this car as Eric Jones back behind the wheel of the number 43. Eric Jones finished 27th in the standings, but near the end of the year, I was very, very impressed. And I think Eric Jones, with him going back to Toyota, I think he will be an outside championship threat contender at times. And I think he'll have his best Cup season in a very long time as well, where I think he's got a really good chance to win races and make the playoffs as well. Eric Jones is a very, very good driver, can get the best out of equipment, and I think that Eric Jones will be very good and very solid throughout the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season, as we'll have Advent Health sponsoring him and a couple other companies like Dollar Tree and Family Tree sponsoring as well. Up next, how about the 45 car for 2311 Racing? This one's going to be driven by Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick had a pretty good year in 2023 where he got 2 victories and made it to the round of 8. He's looking to build on that in 2024 as he looks to make the championship for the first time and also go out and win his first ever NASCAR Cup Series title and win more races and contend for the championship. We'll see what he can do throughout the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season as he looks to win his first NASCAR Cup Series championship. Up next, how about the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing? This one's going to be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse had a very, very good season in 2023, a career year as a matter of fact, winning the Daytona 500 and made it to the playoffs as well. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in for not as good of a year, but I still think it'll be solid regardless. I think Stenhouse has finally come and shown what he's capable of, and JT Doherty looks to build upon a really good year in 2024. Up next, how about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This one's going to be driven by Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman, we all know, had a really bad season. There's no doubt about that. But I think Alex Bowman has potential to improve this year. And I think he'll have a little bit of a bounce-back season. He's probably the biggest mystery going into the year. He'll be working with Blake Harris once again, but he does have a contract for the next 2 years. So anyone that says he's going to be leaving the team, that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Hopefully, Alex Bowman can show a lot of improvement throughout 2024. Up next, how about the 50 car for the Money Team? The Money Team, we know, is expected to run around 78 NASCAR Cup Series races in 2024, but they have not confirmed what their schedule is going to look like. I predict that Julio Castroneves may get some select starts. He's been rumored to maybe run the Daytona 500, wants to run it. He's been promised a Daytona 500 ride. I think Jeffrey Earhart could get a start with these teams. And also, I believe that maybe we see Matt DiBenedetto get a start or two with the team. Maybe he'll get a chance and opportunity to come out of his free agency issues and get an opportunity to race. But I'm not sure if that will happen at this particular moment. Up next, how about the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing? There's a new driver in the 51 car full-time as Justin Haley will be driving the 51 car with Chris Lawson as the crew chief after Justin Haley has left Kaulig Racing. Justin Haley looks to have a really, really good season in 2024. We know RFK is tightening that alliance going into this season, so hopefully Justin Haley can prove that he's capable of running really well. He's pretty underrated as a driver. He's a good super speedway racer, which I think could really help Justin Haley out in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season, as he'll be joining this team in 2024. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? There'll be no changes here as Ty Gibbs back behind the wheel of the number 54 car. Ty Gibbs had an okay start to the year, but the end of 2023 was very, very awesome and really, really good. He had a lot of strong performances and nearly won a couple races near the end of the season. I go back to Bristol, and I also go back to the Charlotte Roval. I think that Ty Gibbs is going to run very consistently well. I think he'll have some very strong performances, and I think he also will get his first win in his NASCAR Cup Series career and maybe make a deep run into the playoffs as well with Joe Gibbs Racing. So we'll see what he ends up doing, but Ty Gibbs looks to have a better year in 2024. Up next, how about the 60 car for RFK Racing? This car is also known as the Stage 60 car. This car will have multiple drivers more than likely behind the wheel. We know that David Reagan is going to run the Daytona 500. It has been rumored that Cam Waters is going to run around 4 to 5 NASCAR Cup Series starts this year. And Ty Majeski's name is also mentioned as a potential possibility as well. And I'll also throw Hailie Deegan's name in because Ford really is high on Hailie Deegan. And I've predicted that she'll make a start in Cup at some point. So I would not be surprised if we see her make a start or two in the Cup Series this year. But this Stage 60 program is eventually looking to expand and be a third full-time entry for RFK Racing. Up next, how about the 62 car for Beard Motorsports? This has been confirmed as Anthony Alfredo will be behind the wheel of the seat for a couple races this season. He'll drive at least 2 races, Daytona 500 with Death Wish Coffee as a sponsor, and also run the first Talladega race. I would also imagine that Anthony Alfredo more than likely is going to go ahead and drive this car in the other races as well. They're going to run 4 races in 2024, and Anthony Alfredo will be the driver of the seat this season. Up next, how about the 67 car for 2311 Racing? While it's unclear what 2311 Racing is doing with this third car, I would expect that 67 car is going to be back in the sport. I expect that Eric Almirola is going to make some select starts in the seat, maybe. I would think that Sheldon Creed and Chandler Smith also would get some starts, and maybe if Carl Lewis does in fact make a return out of nowhere with 2311 Racing, maybe make a one-off return, maybe he'll get a chance to run this seat. But I do believe that the number 67 car for 2311 Racing will come back. I know people mentioned Kurt Busch, but he's not coming back anytime soon because he still needs to be cleared by doctors, if I'm not mistaken. So the 67 car, I think, will make some starts in Cup in 2024. Up next, how about the 71 car for Spire Motorsports? This car will be a partnership with Trackhouse Racing, and Zane Smith will drive this car with Steven Duran as the crew chief. Zane Smith had a really solid year in the NASCAR Truck Series, made a couple select Cup starts with Front Row, got a top 10 in the Coca-Cola 600, which is very, very impressive, and there's a lot of hype around Zane Smith. I think Zane Smith will be the best performing Spire car in 2024 with that Trackhouse partnership. He's going to be working with a good crew chief as well and engineers, and I think that Zane Smith could have a pretty good year with the Spire Trackhouse merger in 2024. Up next, how about the 77 car for Spire Motorsports? There'll be a new driver behind the wheel of this car as well, as Carson Osbar will replace Ty Dillon in this seat in 2024. Carson Osbar nearly won the championship in trucks. He made a couple select NASCAR Cup Series starts with Legacy and did overall pretty solid and good job with this team. I think Carson Osbar will be contending for the Rookie of the Year honors. I think he'll have a solid year, and I think he'll be the best performer in the 77 car, but I still think there's going to be some of those rookie struggles for Carson in 2024. Up next, how about the 78 car for Live Fast Motorsports? This car has been confirmed as Beej McLeod will run the Daytona 500 and will run at least all the Super Speedway races. I also think there's a chance maybe Josh Bilicki could get behind the wheel. We know that Josh Bilicki will be driving for DGM Racing in the Daytona opener for Xfinity, but I would also not be surprised or shocked if we see him with Live Fast Motorsports in the Cup Series. They're going to run part-time through 2024 for sure with BJ McLeod. Up next, how about the 84 car for Legacy Motor Club? This has been confirmed as Jimmy Johnson will run 9 NASCAR Cup Series races in 2024. The Daytona 500, the Brickyard 400, both Kansas races. He'll run, I believe, Las Vegas in the fall, run at Texas Motor Speedway, and run at Dover as well. Jimmy Johnson will be looking to have a solid end of his career at this point. Jimmy, of course, just got inducted in the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to him on that. And Jimmy will run a quarter of the season in 2024. Up next, how about the 97 car for Trackhouse Racing? While the number has not been officially confirmed for Shane Van Gisbergen, I expect SVG to be driving the number 97 car for Trackhouse Racing. I think we already know he's going to run 6-7 NASCAR Cup Series races. I believe both Talladega races. He's going to run Vegas. He's going to run, I believe, the Coast 600. And he's also going to run the Chicago Street Course as well, and a couple of the races, I believe, as well, like COTA. So Shane Van Gisbergen learned to get some Cup experience. Will run also full-time with Kaulig Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. SVG looks to have a very good season with the Trackhouse group and also look to get some experience in Xfinity and Trucks and ARCA as well. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. This one's going to be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez is on the hot seat going this year, and I think of all drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series field, I think Daniel Suarez has more pressure than anybody else. Due to the fact that you've got Shane Van Gisbergen, Zane Smith, and other drivers who I believe are coveting for that number 99 seat going into the season. Though Trackhouse could keep him. Yes, Daniel Suarez does have a multi-year contract with Trackhouse Racing, but he needs to show a lot of improvement if he's going to want to stay behind the wheel of the number 99 car long term, because Trackhouse, I think, is looking toward the future as well and what they're going to do with Connor Zlich as a development driver as well. Hopefully Daniel Suarez can have a better year, though, in 2024. So, that is the updated 2024 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Link description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What do you think about the lineup, and who do you think will be the strongest drivers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. There's a lot of content dropping on the channel. We're less than 2 weeks away from the Clash. We're getting really close to the start of the season. We've got lineup videos for Xfinity and Trucks dropping really soon. We've also got winter predictions for Trucks dropping soon, and I've got a lot of special content dropping on the channel that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.